last night Amanda and I were describing the project to some, pretty socially conscious Asian American Film Festival programmers, and they challenged us a little bit and said, well, that's great if it helps one classroom or even one school, but what is it going to do for all the kids around the rest of the country that are suffering from similar conditions?
Mm-hmm. Well, my initial response is, well, then let's not do anything. It's like, for real, like that. So it's, whatever. At some level, it's a false critique, right? Or even a critique that's embedded in hopelessness, right? Paralysis, like the problem's just so massive that, what's the point, right? You start somewhere, right? You start your rose garden with a rose, and then you expand. I think the problem that we have right now is we have so little vision and so little courage to be visionary that people tinker around the edges, and there's no major social change. And I'm tired of doing that. And I feel like despite all the success we've had, that at some level it's tinkering. The murder rate is the same on my block. The violence is the same, the suffering is the same, the poverty is the same, the schools are the same. And you've got all these narratives about people whose lives have been fundamentally changed through the work that we've done. It's time to sort of move that vision to something that's bigger. Now, I think the problem with the critique from the left of the existing conditions is that Cornel West, I think, said it really well when he said there is no affirmation through negation. That the left has spent a major portion of its time negating the position of the right, explaining why the right is wrong, explaining why predatory capitalism is wrong, and I think that those critiques are important. But they have not fundamentally moved any project except the project of critique. And it's really this sort of bourgeois sensibility, right? That I'm okay, and I'm not okay with what I see, so I'm gonna critique that. And because I'm okay, that I'm not acting like I'm in a crisis. So I don't actually have to do anything, right, except critique. And I think the critique is important. But it's time, I think, for us to offer an alternative vision that's pragmatic, that's practical, that's real, that's being lived out, that's not a pipe dream. And that's really what this project is about, is can we actually do what we say should be done? And then can we use the tools of practice and research to document that? To say, not only this is what we've done, but this is what we've done, this is how we've done it, and this is why it works, and here's the results. And then put that, a fundamental model of practice, which embedded in the model is a critique, right, of the existing models of practice. And then to put that in front of the state. And say, okay, look, you have been saying that you want to do better. You have been saying that you want to tackle this problem. Here it is. Right? Here it is in real life. It's not theory. It's not in a textbook. It's lived. It's documented. We've used the tools of research. We've used all your, right, sort of weapons of documentation, and here it is. And put the state to a decision, right? Are you really committed to this project for all of the citizens of this country? Because if you are, here it is. Right? And let's get to work on, and so at some level I agree with the critique to the degree that the critique is taking the position that that's all we're going to do, that this is not connected to some bigger vision, but it is connected to a bigger vision. First though, we have to build it on our own block in our own community. But the bigger vision, which they may not have been privy to, is to then move that, right? Not as an exportable model, because that's been the mistake, right? That you get a little success here, and then people come in and say, oh, well, how'd you do that? Can you give us your playbook? And they go try to copy that playbook over here. But instead, to create a set of principles that are connected to an effective model of practice, and have those principles be exportable to other communities, so that it's not just a 12-block radius, right? That it is bigger than one school or bigger than one project.
So there's a phrase that I've heard you say, and I've heard it back in interviews, and I liked it so much that I say it to my nieces when I see them. I wonder if you can guess what it is.
Discipline yourself so that no one else has to?
Yeah, they're 4 and 6. So
Oh,
what I say is, I'm going to be in your life forever.
oh, okay.
So I wonder if that, if it all begins with that, or is it just my favorite phrase of all the things I've heard?
I mean, that's often one of the first things I say to young people and families. And it usually elicits a range of responses, mostly skepticism. And that's all right. I mean, I think I would be worried if they weren't skeptical, right? Like, who is this dude and what does that mean, right? But the way that I've done it recently is to prove that by then walking out of the room and letting families and former students step in and answer whatever questions. Because it's one thing for me to say it. It's another thing for me to be able to actually provide the evidence that indeed this is true. And to be confident enough in those relationships that I don't need to be in the room. You can ask them anything. And I'm not worried about what they're going to say, because they're going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you the places where I've stumbled, and they're going to tell you the places where I got back up, and they're going to tell you that what he just said to you is true, and that it's never perfect, and that he's not, some miracle worker, that he's just a human being, but he's going to be in your life as long as you want him to be there. And you're as important to him as he might be to you. And I think that part is often missed, right? There's a narrative about me that I'm doing all this stuff, and the missing part about that narrative, about the work that we do, is how much it does for us, right? And how much it sustains us, and how healing it is for us. That it's not a one-way delivery system. That I feel like the kids and the families that I have served in my life have done way more for me in terms of healing some of my own traumas from my past, in terms of really helping me understand what it means to love and be loved, than I've done for them.